Wabarakatuh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good day, everyone. So, on the next videos, I'll be discussing about qualitative research methods. Yeah. So, hopefully the internet was good so that I can record this video accordingly, and then we can discuss in more details on what are the things related what we call as a qualitative research methods. As I mentioned before in the previous videos, quantitative and qualitative risk method are two very important methods that most of the researcher was trying. Trying when they did a research. So most of the research is actually coming from these two approach. We will be discussing a more complex research method after this, which is mixed methods and also case study research. These two more complex risk methods is a combination of the quantitative and qualitative risk methods that bring up further, yeah, when they are combined together and they are works each others from one theories or one approach into different approach. Okay, let's start the lectures today. Let me share my screens. Wait, I hope you can see my screen now. Yeah, let me bring. Okay, I hope you can see my screen very clearly. We talk about qualitative research methods now. Uh, what is actually a qualitative research methods? Qualitative research method, by definitions, is a qualitative uh, uh, methods or attempts to explore phenomena in depth. Yeah. So basically, when we are trying to understand an experience, yeah, behavior and social phenomena, we are using a qualitative research. The reason is that not everything can be quantified, yeah, and when related with the qualities, so to differentiate is very easy. You talk about quantity, and this one we talk about qualities. Yeah. So the purpose is number one to explore and get insight into human experience, perception, and emotion. Second one is that to understand why and how behind the issues, while not just what is happening. So when you talk about quantitative, is as I said before, you are focusing on how, when, on what, when, who, yeah, whom, yeah, and of course a bit of why. Yeah. But in qualitative research method, when your research focus is on why and how, these are more suitable methods that you can use. Yeah. The key characteristic is that non-numerical data. Previously we talked about counters, uh, the one that you can measure, yeah, something that you the temperatures, yeah, some qualities that can try to be quantified, yeah. Subjective interpretation. So qualitative research methods focus on the subjective interpretations and understandings. Yeah. Of course, contact and specific finding is one of the very important. Yeah, when we do a qualitative research methods, means that certain conclusion or certain outcomes can only apply into specific context terms, findings for that particular finding itself. Yeah. Okay. Let's move forward. Key features, as I said, in the qualitative risk method is very flexible. Yeah, you don't have to follow certain very strict measurement or systems. Yeah? You can use a different approach from different way as long as it serve the purpose of your research. Second one is that it goes with in-depth explorations. Yeah, if you see in the quantitative risk method, sometimes the sample will be hundreds, yeah, even thousands. Yeah, you talk about numbers. Yeah, but in the qualitative risk method, we going in depth. When you go in depth, you don't need a much of samples. Yeah, because with the small number of sample, as long as it representing the whole population, that could be you can get a more in-depth findings. The third one, we're looking at the holistic approach. Yeah, in quantitative, sometimes you try to solve certain very specific data gatherings, but in the qualitative, you need to understand the whole pictures. That's why the teacher reviews in this research method is very crucial, very crucial. Of course, interpretive natures means that it depends on your interpretation on the findings, yeah, meaning making rather than statistical analysis. So, looking at the data in the quantitative research methods, you interpret the data, but you are not having a freedom to interpret it in the different ways. But in the qualitative method, you have a freedom to interpret it in more depths, more holistic, and more flexible manners. Yeah, those are the whole purpose of doing a qualitative research methods. These are types of qualitative research methods. It could be a case studies. Yeah, we're going to discuss case study in more details in our next lectures. Yeah. Phenomenologies, yeah, when you're trying to focus on understanding human experience and perception. And of course, you also have a grounded theories. Yeah, when you develop a theory grounded in data from the field. Yeah, I mean, we did some survey, and you come up with the new theories. Yeah, differ from the existing theory. That called the grounded theories. Ethnography, when you study culture and communities through immersions. Narrative research, yeah, when you focus on personal story or experience, yeah, like the historical research, what happened during the Independence Day, what happened during the things May, so what happened with other events, yeah, they're called narrative research. Of course, you have a content analysis when you are trying to interpret or analyze text and media for pattern and themes. That's called content analysis. In terms of data collections, yeah, there's different ways of gathering data from the qualitative research methods. Number one, of course, most of the time they use interviews. Interviews can be structured. Yeah, structured mean it's more like questionnaires. Yeah, when you have structured, mean you do a like a scale. People choose 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That called structure. And of course, you have semi-structured when you put something that can be measurable 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. At the same time, you leave some part of the interviews open, yeah, so that people can give their opinion on that particular section. Well, you talk about unstructured, or you call it open-ended interviews. Yeah, those kind of interview when you just give a question, so the respondent can respond with whatever information they have. So it's more open and takes longer times normally. Yeah, can be one-to-one or group-based. Yeah, you can do one-to-one interview, or you can go do based on groups. You interview one group and next group, like stakeholders. Yeah, when you talk about stakeholders, mean you take from consumer side, from the production side, from the quality assurance side. So those kind of research is based on the groups. Or you can go do a focus groups, yeah, we call it focus group discussions, yeah, when you gather all the expert or the stakeholders, so they can give opinion on that particular event. Or you can did observations, as I said, as you did in your quantitative research methods. You can do document analysis, or you can do a surveys. Yeah, this type of research, yeah, data collection method in qualitative research method. So in qualitative research method, you need to go, people call it coding. Coding doesn't look so complicated. Is you try to identify the patterns. Yeah. For example, if you did interviews, you need to understand what are the trends that people are talking. Yeah. when they discuss about certain topics. And you put a thematic analysis, yeah, certain topics when you interview them or you do observation, they put in the station categories, yeah, this called thematic analysis. Of course, you have content analysis, grounded theory, narrative analysis, etc. Yeah, these are called the data analysis and quantitative research. If you remember in the quantitative research method that we have before, when you talk about descriptive and you talk about influence, yeah, and interference analysis, yeah, when you are trying to uh, see the correlation between one phenomena to another phenomena. In the qualitative research, when you analyze the data, you can use the coding, you code the thing, you put analytic analysis, content analysis, etc. People normally they can use currently people are using Atlas TI and NVivo as the software to help people to generate the analysis on the specific result of interviews. Yeah. In terms of validity, reliability of qualitative research, yeah, it's very important that you understand the data. It should be credible. Yeah. I mean, the accuracy of the findings should be good. Yeah, when you measure it, yeah, if the source, for example, if you interview people, you need to ensure that the one that you interview is actually a person who represent the data that you like to gather. Yeah. That's why the transferabilities, dependabilities, and confirmabilities of that particular respondent or the source of data is very important in the qualitative research method. One other reason is because the number is very small. Yeah. Rather than when you use it quantitative, the sample will be very big. So there's a when you did do a large data collections, when you have some problem with the data, you still have few numbers of it. Yeah, for example, if 10% of it working, the 90% can be used. But in the qualitative research method, sometimes the data that you get is not that many. For example, you interview only 5%. Yeah. So that 5% itself should be very credible. Yeah. So that you don't have to repeat again the whole process. Yeah, because of that. And of course, we use the call triangulation. Triangulation when you use multiple data source. Normally, when you use three, yeah, three mean at least three. You cannot triangulate method where only two data. For example, you triangulate between a survey, between questionnaire, and of course, the last thing you triangulate with the interviews. Yeah, those you combine, you do it together. After this, we'll also will be discussing in detail when you talk about mixed method, yeah, because it's related with mixed method. So when you did interview, you did that survey, when you did questionnaires, you did simultaneously, then you triangulate the finding. That's what we call a triangulation. Of course, you need to check on the member checking, yeah? Asking participant to review findings. So normally, when you did an interview or when you did the questionnaires in qualitative research method, because the number is not that many, it is advisable you reconfirm with your candidate. Normally what my student and we did during the research is that after you interview people, you transcribe everything and you show the transcription into the respondent so that they can confirm, they can delete, they can upgrade, they can explain further. That is the whole call a member checking. I mean, you do a checking, double checking on the findings. Yeah. Okay. Of course, you need ethical considerations. Yeah, when you did an interviews, you talk about confident, informed consent. Yeah, you need the consent from the particular respondent. Yeah, before you interview, they need to sign. Yeah, that they are aware of the question. They are aware the objective of this questionnaire or interviews, so that they are fully understand that. Of course, you need to talk about confidentialities. That's why in some of the interview, you have to to hide the identities of the respondent. Yeah, for example, if your research is about whether certain management of the company was working or not, of course you need to hidden the identity of the respondent. Otherwise, they will get penalized. penalties from the management. Yeah. So in order to avoid that, we need to put confidentiality as one of the very important component when we did a qualitative risk method. Non-maliciation, yeah, is, as I said, non-avoiding harms to the participant, respect to autonomies. For example, if the respondent decided they don't want to go further, yeah, they can stop whatever point they would like to stop. This is very important because I experienced some of very sensitive issues like domestic violence. Yeah, so sometimes the respondent, I did involve with some of this kind of research like psychological research. Yeah, so when you did this research, the respondent might want to stop at the middle. I cannot continue this. It bring back the memory, the bad memory that I can. So they are aware. Yeah, they are allowed to stop anytime they want. So you can continue next, or you can just delete whatever they gave you before. Yeah, this is the respect to the autonomies on that. So the strength of qualitative research methods, yeah, number one, of course, is a rich, detailed data, yeah, the flexibilities, yeah, context specific, yeah, holistic understanding. These are four strengths that you can see from the qualitative research methods, yeah, the data that you gather. But of course, there's a limitation. Yeah, this is I'm not to say a weakness, but I will say to say a limitation. Number one, there always be an issue of subjectivities. Yeah. Some people say that this kind of research is not objective. Yeah, but in this life, what is the objective thing? Nothing is objective in this life. Yeah. So everything always subjective. But there's a critique. Yeah. So that's why in the qualitative research method, we try to reduce the subjectivities by engaging more respondent, or we engaging into more data collection methods, yeah, to verify. As I said, you can have the member checking, you can have the triangulation, you can have the checking things. Yeah. Limited generalizabilities, yes, because it's very context, yeah, it's very specific. Yeah. Sometimes when you try to generalize it into bigger pictures, it's not working. Yeah, it's not you cannot use a specific context data into a bigger pictures of that. The next one, time consuming, yeah, because sometimes when you interview a person, one interview might not be enough. You need to follow 5, 6, 7 interview. That took you 5, 6 months. Yeah, that's the one that consume more time. And because of the small sample size, sometimes people say it's not representing the whole population. And they are criticized that this kind of approach is not appropriate. Yeah, it's not objective enough to represent the whole samples. Okay. When you did a practice, yeah, briefly explain example of case studies. Yeah, we're going to discuss that application, discuss how quality research used in various fields. Yeah, this could be our discussions. Yeah, if you have any, try to number one, try to present case studies where qualitative research was used. Yeah, community response, policy, etc. Yeah, later on when you present your case studies of good design in disaster shelters, for example, you can give sample on that. Of course, qualitative risk method used in different fields, yeah, psychology, healthcare, and things. You can try to discuss about that further. Yeah. Okay. Let's go to the summaries. Yeah. Qualitative research provide rich depth insight into human experience and behavior. Yeah. It involves flexibility, interpretative approach, methods, interview, focus group, etc. While it has strengths, also challenges like subjectivity and limited generalizabilities. Yeah. Final thought, emphasize on the importance of qualitative research in gaining deeper understanding of complex social phenomena and relevant in various disciplines. And these are the things that we can discuss further. Okay, I think that's all from my side. Thank you very much for your times. Yeah, I open up for Q&A. If you have any questions or things that you would like to discuss further, you can put in the chat box, or you can PM in the groups, or you can message in the group, or you can PM me personally on your specific questions. Okay, let's stop the screens. Sorry for that. Okay, I think that's all from my side. Thank you very much again for your times. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.